Welcome to the Reflection Room. We're excited to be interviewing and talking with Wendy Websley. She's an award-winning registered dietitian and a licensed nutritionist in the St. Pete and Tampa Bay area. She's a former Baycare clinical dietitian and currently a nutrition consultant to alcohol treatment centers, schools, shelters, and food pantries. Her specialties include easy and budget-friendly home cooking, meal plans created from unprocessed foods, and menopause nutrition. And she actually founded the St. Pete Cooking School, where she teaches people basic cooking skills and how to cook on a budget. So, welcome. I'm excited to talk about this stuff today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you.
Yeah.
Well, we have kind of a speed round of questions, but if you want to dive deeper into a topic, we can definitely talk a little bit more in depth. So, this first section is about budget friendly mental wellness nutrition. So, my first question for you is what's the most affordable food that actually helps your mood?
Uh, yeah, if my overarching goal in life is to get more Americans to eat beans and to find ways to make beans accessible and for people to understand how versatile they are, how to buy them and store them and cook them and enjoy them. And I'm on team canned beans. I
Oh,
also know if I ask people to buy beans, soak beans, and cook them, I'll lose them. And so my goal is to not lose people. My goal is to bring people in with nutrition. So let's buy a can of black beans, and I can show you 5 different things to do with that can of black beans. Beans
wow.
are the cheapest and, in my opinion, the best protein source in the grocery store.
Oh.
Wow. That I never would have guessed that. And is it all types of beans or is black beans your favorite?
I never met a bean that I didn't like. And people ask me, Wendy, what's the best bean? And the answer is the one that gets in your belly.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. I love that.
I love that. In graduate school, just things that you do just to get through difficult times. We had a quote wall, my roommates and I. And so anything that we ever said that we felt was just, I don't know, funny or silly, whatever, we would write it on there. So if I had a quote wall, I would write that down, Wendy. I never met a bean that I didn't like. That
Well,
was funny. I
I
love
love
that.
that.
And the same
Yes.
goes for potatoes. I never met a potato that I didn't like. And so that's off people are often surprised to hear that I endorse potatoes. Now, I don't endorse
Uh,
French fries, tater tots, hash browns, Pringles, things like that. I'm not against those things, but I also wouldn't put those in the everyday food category. I would put a potato as it comes out of the ground in the
Mm.
everyday food category. Baked, roasted, air fried. They're very high in fiber. They're very high in potassium, bringing a lot of good stuff to your body and doesn't break the bank.
mm,
No,
so
that
good.
is good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the next question is are pricey superfoods just a marketing ploy when it comes to mental health?
Yes, there's
Mm,
no hesitation on that. Right now, I'm fighting protein powders, protein supplements, protein
Mm.
bars, Gatorade with extra protein. I'm fighting all of it right now. I'm also fighting fiber gummies and fiber supplements. And then next on the horizon is what I'm fighting is electrolytes. And
Oh,
I've got 2 men in my patient list who have cardiac disease, who are drinking um electrolyte drinks with 5 to 600 milligrams of sodium. So these men with cardiac disease need a beverage with 500 milligrams of sodium, like they need a hole in the head. So this is we are hard marketed too that these foods are essential and they are not. Um, I like to say that nobody makes money when you or I or anyone drinks water or eats a banana. And so
mhm.
this is what is need for workout recovery. Now, if you're an elite athlete out doing triathlons and running marathons in the Florida heat, let's have some electrolyte replacement. But the vast majority of us are going from, couch to car to store, back to couch to Netflix. And for that, we don't need electrolyte replacement.
Mm,
Uh,
that is good because I actually saw an article yesterday about Starbucks is starting to roll out a new protein line, and it's going to be permanent on the
Mhm.
menu where you can get protein cold foam and protein
oh my god.
frappuccinos. Yeah, I saw that and I thought that we're going a little overboard.
Yeah. Yeah. I spend a lot of time and educating people, railing against mixed drinks.
Wow.
I think people look at them as innocent, innocuous. It's coffee beverages. I
Mhm.
would almost rather someone ate a giant piece of chocolate cake. Because in that way, their brain would register that this is a sweet treat and every now and then kind of a food, a special occasion, celebratory piece of cake instead of every single day getting a frappuccino that clocks in at 600 calories and 54 grams of added sugar.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm. You're
that's a
right.
good point.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Like, for them to register what it is that they're
Yes.
actually having versus it being masked as just
Yeah.
a
Right.
simple, innocent coffee drink.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
same
Mhm.
with protein milks, protein shakes. They have a health halo. People have been marketed to, people have been told that these are necessary for their good health.
Mhm.
At worst, many people, specifically women, have been convinced that high protein diets will induce weight loss. And that is patently false. And so I have women in my patient list who are drinking protein milks, protein shakes, smoothies, all kinds of things with extra protein, and it's not working because if this protein is not burned for our use or converted to muscle, it is laid down as fat because protein is energy. And if energy is not used or stored as muscle, it is stored as fat.
Yeah. And I think and we can probably talk about this a little bit later, but I think this is why it's so important to work with a professional because I myself I think not I think I know have fallen victim to this. You kind of go online and you're googling and you're searching and you literally can go from one article
Mhm.
to the next article and get information that just contradicts, each other. And so it's just so important, I think, to get information that is very individualized and very personalized to like your specific needs.
Sure.
So,
Need protein. We do not need factory protein. And so
Mm.
the protein I recommend people take, uh, I recommend they get their protein from real food. And I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian, so that could be chicken, beef, pork, seafood. That could be beans, nuts, seeds, grains, potatoes, a medium potato. Here we go again, 6 grams of protein,
mhm,
eggs. So let's get our protein from real food because when we get protein from real food, we get minerals, vitamins, antioxidants. We also get some carbs, we get some fat. But when we consume protein in this form that comes from the factory in a powder, that's we get one food and we get
mhm,
that protein, isolated protein, which is
mhm,
in my opinion is not moving nutrition forward.
Mm.
mhm, mhm,
Wow. Yeah, I'm already learning so much.
mhm.
Um, well, my next question is it better to buy organic and live on a tighter budget or simply eat healthier options of regular produce?
Um, I guess in some of my kind of food communities, I say that organic is a dirty word because I have observed organic creating a two-tiered food system. Those that have and those that don't. And I've also heard from people, I guess I can't afford organic, so I won't eat fruits and vegetables. And so the dietitian in me says this is not helpful messaging. If a
Mm.
large swath of people who are not very, very wealthy or don't have big food budgets or have limited or even regular people food budgets because all of us are stretched with food
Mhm.
budget and power, electricity budget, utility budget, rent. We're all stretched. So,
Mhm.
um, if I hear one more time, I don't eat organic, I guess I'm not going to eat fruits and vegetables because I can't afford organic. I push back hard on that.
Mhm.
So if you can afford it, cool. If you can't afford it, cool. Let's still consume fruits and vegetables.
Mhm.
I love that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's a very good point because it a lot of times it is much more expensive just to get the
Mhm.
organic label.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. I also think that organic, I've heard it 100 times. Well, it says that it's organic and it's non-GMO and it's this and it's that. But at its heart, it's an Oreo cookie. And
Mhm.
because it comes to the consumer with all these implied health halos, organic, non-GMO, all these other, wonderful
Mhm.
health halos, it's green light to scream through an entire package of these Oreo cookies eaten at 3 o'clock in the morning. So,
Mhm.
right. So the consumer says, well, it was GMO and it was non-GMO and it was organic, but it's driving forward cardiac disease and diabetes.
Mhm.
It is still a cookie. And a lot of
Yeah.
foods, and I know you haven't asked about this, but late night eating, and eating
Mhm.
done away from the eyes of other people, eating done in secret is something I talk to people about every single day. I assume you do as well.
Mhm. Mhm. We do hear about that sometimes with eating, but and with also uh, other things as well. Sometimes people find themselves addicted or just dependent on other things that they will sometimes find themselves doing alone or doing late at night, and we find ourselves having conversations with them about that. I'm curious for myself, but then also for those that are listening, if you could just kind of define what exactly, when people see organic or when they see non-GMO, what
Mhm.
exactly does that mean?
It means in the case of organic, there are a set of practices that an organic farmer must follow in order to have his or her products or produce deemed organic and to receive that label, certified USDA organic. There's a series of growing practices that a farmer must
Mm,
follow. Non-GMO, I am not 100% sure what a grower has to go through to receive that. That may be something that is meaningless or worthless. There are a
mhm,
lot of
Mm.
very meaningless and worthless health claims on labels of food. I tell my patients, ignore 100% what's on the front of the package. Absolutely, just
mhm,
dismiss it, ignore it, flip it over,
mhm,
and let's look at the nutrition facts label and the ingredient list and make our decision whether it's go no go with that food. I love to
mhm,
teach people how to read labels, and I love to teach
mhm,
people to be consumer advocates and
mhm.
detectives and to be suspicious of food claims and health claims on food.
You're right, because nowadays a lot of that stuff is just, I mean, so much money goes into marketing and all of that. So that's probably what you're finding on the front of
Hmm.
all of those packages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Um, well, what is one $5 grocery swap that could improve your mental health?
Oh, um, let's see. Well, I never met a piece of fruit that I didn't like. And if I hear it one more time, well, fruit has too much sugar. No, no, no. Our vanilla wafers have too much, and candy coated walnuts and pecans have too much sugar. So I hear it from a lot of people is that I got to keep that fruit. I got to be careful with the fruit because there's too much sugar. So let's eat all the fruit. There is a point with fruits and vegetables where we get full. We have unlimited capacity for the combination of sugar, salt, fat, flour, which are the four components of ultra processed foods. But when we
Mm.
eat whole fruits, and I don't mean blended fruits, and I don't mean smoothies, when we eat whole fruits, those whole fruits come to us with fiber and water. And these fruits often require some mastication. And when we chew food, satiety signals or hormones are sent from belly to brain that said, food's coming on board. Let's slow this down. When we eat ultra processed foods, which the four major components of ultra processed foods are sugar, salt, fat, and flour, we have unlimited capacity for those kinds of foods. These foods melt in our mouth or require very, very little mastication. They come down the throat and they come into the belly. They are burned like that because they contain little to zero nutrition. And then powerful messages go from belly to brain that says you need more. Ultra processed food is not made or baked or created. It is engineered to be consumed on mass quantity on repeat. So back to your question, let's look at the grocery cart and say how much of the food in my grocery cart comes from the farm and how much of it comes from the factory. And the more we can fill our grocery carts with foods that come from the farm, we eat and we stay full. I think it's a powerful misunderstanding that nutrient-dense food is expensive. I push back hard on that because I've seen the price of chips and candies and sodas and cookies and other kinds of things. And it's not that we don't have these in our world. We do, because all foods fit. But when a diet is made of majority ultra-processed food, that's a very, very expensive food bill. And it is also a nutrient deficient life or pattern of eating.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating how you said, like with smoothies, like it needs to be the full form of the fruit
Yes.
because of the chewing. I never thought about that
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
Because so
Mhm.
many people just start their day with a morning smoothie.
They do. And then I often, when they do that, I ask the question, and how do you feel 90 minutes after drinking that smoothie? And almost always the report is, I'm ravenous.
Yes.
Tell people to do is to deconstruct the smoothie and eat the items as individual items as whole foods. And the report I get back is I got halfway through and I was full.
Oh,
Wow. I would have never guessed. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder, do you feel like there's also, I mean, this is just like, I guess the clinician in me. I wonder if there's also like a psychological component to that? Or do you think that, meaning like the chewing aspect of it, that there's something to that that also kind of like causes the body to feel like it's fuller as it's eating? But also, do you think that it slows down the eating process too? And so the person gets fuller faster? I don't know. I wonder if there's so many different factors that are related to that as you're explaining that process. That also stood out to me too, Hannah.
Yeah. My nutrition messages can be very, very kind of boring and old school. I say, let's go back to grandma cooking. Let's slow down with food. Let's touch our food. Let's have respect for food. This goes into this. Let's have our meals away from screens with people we love. Let's have conversation
Mhm.
over food. Let's connect over food, mealtime. I know these messages are boring and nobody wants to hear them because busy, 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 busy. Got to drink my food. Got to, got to eat fast. Got to eat on the run. Some of the healthiest cultures around the globe are ones that have respect for the dining table and whole
Mhm.
foods and eating communally and conversation and long, slow meals. If I would love for a revolution in our country to get back to where we respect mealtime, we respect whole foods, and we maybe respect the old ways. I don't know. I hate smoothies. I hate
Mhm.
everything that they represent. They
Mhm.
represent almost if disrespect for mealtime, disrespect for slowing down. We talk it, and I love what you all do for a living in the mental health space. Sometimes I think just slowing down around food and reconnecting with our loved ones over a shared experience of a meal can do a lot for mental health.
Mhm.
I love
I
that.
agree.
And
I
that
agree.
is
And
boring.
I've always, yeah, I know. I've always said I think that's probably that's part of what makes just therapy successful, I think, is the fact that you have two people or more, depending on the surface, but just deciding to slow down for an hour
Hmm.
and just take time to just sit down and carve out space to just kind of listen to one another and just have that conversation. Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't happen as often anymore. If you think about maybe even just think about your last week or last 2 weeks and how many times you actually had that happen in your personal life where there were no distractions, no phones, no electronics. It doesn't happen as often anymore. And so I think that in itself sometimes is like a component or part of like what makes therapy successful is that you're kind of forced to, in a sense, you're deciding to like kind of block out any distractions and just kind of sit there and intentionally create space for that. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wholeheartedly agree with you there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of goes in, I mean, some of the stuff you just said goes into the next question. But what's the biggest nutrition myth when you're on a tight budget?
Oh, um, that it's, I hear it all. It's too expensive to eat, in a nutritious way. It's too expensive. And if time equals money, then I agree. And that's why I love to teach cooking, and I teach very, very, very simple cooking. For instance, this is not really cooking, but it's a reframe of what is a meal. I think we look at a meal as the plate. We have to have a meat and a starch and a veg. And the New York Times came out with this thing called Girl Dinner, and I teach Girl Dinner. And it is a collection of your favorite nutrient dense snacks that, and I made up this thing where a meal does three things. One, it provides energy. Okay. That's a meal. One of the meal's jobs is to provide energy, which is calories. You need energy to do your work. Two, it provides nutrients, the three macros: protein, carbs, fat, but also minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, the micronutrients. Okay. And then three, it provides joy and pleasure. And so if a meal meets those three criteria, then it gets to be considered a meal. And so what if a meal is an apple with some peanut butter, some cheese with some whole wheat crackers, and some nuts, seeds, and dried fruit?
That sounds really good.
That does sound really good.
And part of what I do is I just give people permission to redefine a meal and to take away
Yeah.
this all or nothing thinking and perfectionism away from what is food and what is a meal. And if it does, if the food you eat meets those three criteria, let's call it a meal. Let's call it good enough. Let's move away from perfectionism, and let's take this pressure off of ourselves of what does a perfect meal look like?
Wow. Yes. And I love the last part of that too is the joy, like
Sure.
providing pleasure.
Mhm.
Because so many people in diet culture just try to accept like, I'm gonna eat carrots for the rest of my life or, like bland foods, but you can still eat things you enjoy.
Right, right. You absolutely should. The white knuckling dieting, using the word never, I'll never have cake again, I'll never have a hot dog again. No, 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 no. In my counseling practice, there is cake if a patient chooses. There is pizza if a patient chooses. There are hot dogs. Perhaps we can put these into special occasion foods or every now and then foods, not everyday foods. But all foods fit in the dietitian world. All foods fit. I subscribe to that wholeheartedly. But perhaps all foods don't fit every single day. And
Right.
that's all depending on your health goals. I also know that if we start to make changes to food, and if we say, never this and never that, I'll lose people. I will absolutely lose people. So my philosophy is, what can we add to the diet? And when I say diet, I think people think that diet means a period of time where food is restricted or calories are restricted.
Mhm.
In the clinician world, the diet is, what does the person eat?
Mhm.
That's what we call the diet. And so I don't like to take food away, I like to add to. So we talk about, when I do counseling, nutrition counseling, we say, what are some of your favorite high fiber, nutrient dense foods? Or what are some of your favorite meats, lean meats, that we can add to, with the idea that when we add to, we elbow out some of the ultra processed kind of junky foods. So we don't
Mm.
take away, we add to. And what happens is the patient starts to get a taste for nutrient dense foods. They start to notice, my mood is better. I'm sleeping better. I don't have energy crashes. I think I'm experiencing less bloat. My clothes
Mm.
feel better. My skin looks better. And then I'm losing weight. The number on the scale is coming down. And this is how we proceed with this, nice and slow. We make slow, very, very sustainable goals. The other day I had a girl, I said, will you go to the gym one time this week? Will you set a goal that says, I will go to the gym one time this week? And she said, no, I'm going 5 times.
Oh
I
gosh.
pushed back a little bit. I said, can we set a goal, a 7-day intention that you will go to the gym one time this week? And she pushed hard, hard. No, that's not good enough. I'm going to the gym 5 times this week. So I kind of blessed and released that one, and maybe I'll pick
Mhm.
that fight up again. I'm sure as counselors,
Mhm.
that at a certain point
Mhm.
you just kind of back off and then
Mhm.
maybe reintroduce this suggestion. But this falls into this all or nothing thinking. I am on, I
Mhm.
am perfect, or I am off, and I am running crazy, and there is no
Mhm.
middle. And I firmly believe that the healing is found in the middle.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I love the idea of, gosh, how did you phrase it just now? Like, just creating space for some of those more nutrient dense foods as opposed to creating a restrictive diet where you're
Mhm,
eliminating,
mhm,
the
Mhm.
unhealthy foods. Yeah, it seems like it would create a more I guess how those of us that are not in the nutrition space, like more of a lifestyle change
mhm,
and more of a sustainable diet versus one that's just short lived, which is what we're all used to, kind of like those diet plans or those like phases that we go in where we restrict ourselves and whatever the craze is at the time, and then it's just not sustaining, it's not long lasting, and then we find ourselves kind of defaulting back to our like old habits and
mhm,
patterns. So I love that concept that you just kind of like laid out.
mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very helpful. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on cooking versus buying pre-made food?
Mm. Um, I've come up with a thing called, I call it gather and arrange. And so this is where we
Mm.
gather some nutrient dense foods and we arrange them into meals. And it involves just
Mm.
a little bit of Sunday prep. And I don't mean laying out 7 Tupperwares and making 7 meals and putting 7 meals in 7 Tupperwares. For instance, if on Sunday you can cook a pan of grains, my preferences are brown rice, quinoa, or farro. Cook a pan of grains, and you have those grains, you cook them not with the intention of eating them, you cook them with the intention of eating them right in that moment. You cook them with the intention of eating them throughout the week. So
Mhm.
for instance, on Sunday, maybe I'll cook a pan of quinoa, and I will shove that quinoa in the fridge. The idea that a cooked grain gets eaten, an uncooked grain does not. I may do the same
Mhm.
thing with some meats. I may cook up some ground beef or some ground turkey, or I may roast some chicken breast and I shove it in the fridge. The idea, a cooked piece of meat gets eaten, a raw piece of meat does not. And I'm talking about Tuesday night after you've worked all day, some random Tuesday night. If you come home and your refrigerator has some cooked components, then here we go. Here come restaurant style bowls. Here comes salads. Here comes stir
Mhm.
fries. Here comes tacos. I also encourage people to on Sunday maybe bake 3 or 4 potatoes. Bake them, cool them, shove them in the fridge. The idea, a cooked potato gets eaten, a raw potato does not. Same with roasted vegetables. If you wanted to roast a pan of vegetables and have those ready to go. So here we are. We looking at our fridge on Tuesday. We've got some cooked potatoes, some cooked meat, or on Sunday I bought a rotisserie chicken. I've got a chicken in the fridge ready to go. Maybe I made a meatloaf or some meatballs. I've got meatloaf or meatballs ready to go. It's all kind of heat and serve, but it's not necessarily frozen entrees, which I've seen some frozen entrees clock in at 2,100 milligrams of sodium. Well, guess what? That one
Mm.
frozen entree, you just met your sodium limit for almost the entire day. The upper limit for sodium is 2,300 milligrams per day for a person
Wow.
who does not have heart disease. So I've seen some frozen meals clock in at 2,000 and 2,100 milligrams of sodium. Um,
Wow.
yeah. Also, y- these foods can be lower in fiber. I haven't even talked about fiber. I mean, I spend it's all I talk about in my nutrition practice is fiber. How do we identify high fiber foods and easily, hopefully painlessly incorporate them into foods? Like I said earlier, what's the best bean? The one that gets in your belly. What's the best fruit,
Mhm.
Wendy? The one that gets in your belly. What's the best vegetable? The one that gets in your belly. Is that fresh, organic, non-organic? I don't care. Frozen? I don't care. Canned? I don't care. We have to, and you know this with social work, we have to meet people where they are. And so
Mhm.
I like to pull judgment. I like to pull have to, should.
Mhm.
This is how it has to be. No, no, no. Let's talk about what works with your budget, your cooking style, your culture, your preference. All of these things matter. And if canned green beans are where you are right now, we go with canned green beans.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
it's so this cannot be. My goal is not to lose people. My goal is to bring them in. And how do we make small, sustainable changes where we're making nutrition better and without like white knuckling? We will endure as humans. We will endure pain for just so long in ways that are sticky changes, relatively painless changes that someone can take and do until the last day they're on this earth with nutrition.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. Nowadays, there's so many quick and semi-easy ways to make healthier meals. I I I recently, well, I would probably say like about 7, 8 months ago, like purchased an air fryer, and people were
Mhm.
talking about, there's so many things you can cook in an air fryer, and I'm not necessarily the best chef by any means. So I just did not believe it. I was at all, but it's true. There's so many things and it cooks so quickly. And so I think that, nowadays there really are so many things we could use in our kitchens that allows us to really kind of like create so many different meals and kind of mix things up, and that could happen really quickly. That's also efficient and, isn't time consuming like you were saying, and that we can do maybe on the weekends or on a day and an evening that, we might get home a little bit earlier from work, and then we have a few evenings where we have dinner already made or maybe for lunch or something like that. So, yeah, I love that idea. Plus, too, I don't know if people have done this before, but I know I did this a while back. But when you really begin to calculate how much you actually are spending picking up a meal here and a meal there, I mean, I know we're talking about health here, like the impact that eating out has, or on our health, but even it's just cost effective too when you really think about it. Like you're saving so much money by like cooking at home. And so there's so many benefits to it in the long run, but oftentimes we don't see the benefits because we're looking for that instant gratification. So having these conversations, I feel like, is just so important. It really is for so
Mhm.
many reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is a very hippie kind of a thing to say, but I think it's important to touch your food,
Mm.
to
Mm.
um, smell your food,
Mm.
to as you cut open a tomato, to observe the seeds and the water that comes out of the tomato, to connect to food. I think that in our modern world we are often disconnected from food. I think this is some hippie stuff. Okay, stay with me, but I think it's beautiful and powerful to connect to the food that you put into your body.
Mhm.
Just to marvel at the beauty of produce. I know people are like, "Shut, Wendy, shut up. Come on." But
No, no, not at
No,
all.
no.
Not at all.
at the variety of produce, the colors, the textures, the water content of this vegetable versus that vegetable, to consider how it was grown, This is all getting back to, I think, center. Um,
Mhm.
and to have respect for the people who grew the food, and to kind
Mm.
of understand the process of how it made it to the grocery store and all of the people
Mhm.
involved in bringing this halo tangerine to my grocery store and then into my
Mhm.
home and then into my body. I know that's some really, really hippie stuff, but I think it's a beautiful thing when we
Mhm.
can really
Mhm.
connect back to food.
Mhm.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And I went on a rant a couple days ago, which is kind of off topic, but I feel like it relates. I was thinking about like how solution focused our culture is and how people just want to fix things, like make it faster, make it better, make it quicker, make it easier. Even when we're like talking to somebody, we want to like fix their problems instead of just listen to them.
Mhm.
But humans need connection and not just with
Mhm.
each other, but like you're saying, with what we're putting in our bodies. And I actually have this client who brings her young daughter to a farm every weekend and they pick up their
Oh.
produce from the farmer. So they know the farmer by name. They talk to him every single Saturday or Sunday. But she gets to pick out all her vegetables for the week and all her
Oh.
fruits, and she
Oh.
takes them and they cook them throughout the week. And then she thinks about that farmer and she'll be like, "Oh, this is from farmer so and so." And when she's eating it. And I just think, like you're saying, like it's such a beautiful thing. And to teach children that too, growing up, like being able to appreciate where their food is coming from, connecting at the table with their parents while they're eating it too. Like it is a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
Oh, I love
Mhm.
that. That's special.
It is.
You don't hear that stuff happening, at least
No.
I don't, happening as often anymore, as
Right.
I'm sure it did back then, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I often feel what I receive from a lot of my patients is that food is an inconvenience. Food is something I have to do to get on to the next thing. And I have been pushing back a bit hard is what is that next thing? And often that next thing is this,
Mhm.
or the television, or YouTube, or Netflix, or it is something that is not necessarily filling us up, but
Mhm.
perhaps it is something that is pulling away. And so I think that food is just it feels like a gnat, like an annoying gnat that swarms around someone's face. Like, okay, I just got to get this food in me. I just got to get the smoothie. I just got to get the restaurant food. I just got to get in because I
Mhm.
have to go. I'm so busy. And
Mhm.
I have recently been challenging people on what are you so busy with? And often
Mhm.
what comes up is I'm busy with this. I'm busy with
Mm.
social media. I'm busy putting my best hours into the lives of other people, like living
Mm.
in the lives of other people, consuming what they tell me about their lives. And that may be for another conversation, but I see a lot of disconnect between food and screens.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
definitely.
That's awesome, Wendy. Yeah. Thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Where can people find you if they are interested in learning more about you or even find some of your content?
Website called wendywesleynutrition.com. It has videos and recipes and articles I've written about all this kind of stuff I've been talking about. I give lectures. I do cooking demonstrations. Like I said, I work at drug and alcohol treatment centers. I also work at a food pantry here in St. Pete. So I'm, constantly got my head in the world of food and trying to figure out how to make it easier and better for people with food and nutrition.
And as we always end all of our episodes, we enjoy reflecting and we hope that you guys do as well. And so our thoughts for you guys is to keep reflecting.